but it's also, they each have their own challenges, so at higher water, sometimes holes that we could see can be a little bit bigger. We call them munchier, if you will. They can be a little bit more munchier, but at lower water, the falls are much steeper. More rocks are exposed as well, so there's more opportunity for carnage at lower water, but at higher water levels, if you happen to go in involuntarily, it makes for a much more, or a longer swim, if you will.
Have you ever had anybody with Down syndrome?
I haven't, no, this is my first time today.
Well, I am very happy for you.
Me too, man, I'm happy for you.
All right, welcome to Baker's Bakery, and we got a special guest over here, Mr. Brad.
How's it going?
Brad.
Okay, this is actually pretty special, Brad, because not only is this our first time doing a podcast out of the state of Missouri without real microphones, it's also the first time we've ever had all 5 bakers on a podcast.
That's true.
It is true.
We have 4 often, but 5, this is the first.
Very true.
So where are we? Who wants to talk? Mom, why don't you tell us where we are since you planned the trip?
I did plan the trip, but Katie actually found Noah's River Rafting.
No. Noah's River Adventure.
Yeah, so we were planning our trip to the Pacific Northwest, and Mom and I were just sitting on the couch trying to figure out what we were going to do. At one point we were like, we have too much time on our hands. Like, we don't have enough things to do. Well, but I was like, I want to go whitewater rafting. And so we looked into it to see, how that would be possible. And we found Noah's River Adventure. And so we looked into it. We're here in Ashland, Oregon. It's a cute little town in the valley of the mountains up here in southern Oregon. And
we came here to whitewater raft.
We came
that
here
is the only reason that we are here.
We came here for Noah's River Adventure.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And we had
one damn good picture.
Exactly. We had the best time.
Yeah.
We're very happy that we came here.
You might be able to hear there's actually, I don't know if that's a river, it's probably more like a creek.
A stream.
We are sitting outside of some sort of moving body of water.
It's Ashland Creek.
Ashland Creek.
Yep.
Okay, so how have you always been in Ashland? No, we talked about this.
Yeah.
Give me your backstory.
So background, I'm originally from Amarillo, Texas. Grew up there. I moved away 16 years ago. Spent a couple years in Durango, Colorado. Fell in love with mountain biking and rafting there. Spent a few years in Salt Lake City, Utah, and then I've been here for 10.
I got engaged in Park City.
Oh, really?
/ Salt Lake City.
Yeah, it's a fun town.
Yeah, my fiance's friends moved out there last year, just in time for him to take me to the mountains and propose, which was perfect. So you've been in Ashland how long?
About 10 years.
10 years, okay. And is this the place you've been the longest since leaving home?
It is, yeah, most definitely. So I've spent two or 3 years in Durango, Colorado, and then 2 or 3 years in Salt Lake. So.
And how long have you been with Noah's River,
As soon
Rafting
as
Adventure?
I moved to Ashland, as soon as I moved to Southern Oregon, I called Bart and I was like, hey, I want to do this. I want to become a guide. And so 2014 is when I made my debut in the river rafting. So
Kind of like Tom Pataki made his debut in April, right?
Yeah, that's a WWE superstar. He made his debut this year.
How did you pick here? How did you find out about Ashland?
I was making my way west, and one day I just kind of loaded up my car, and I was like, I think Southern Oregon is the spot to be. So I came here and started waiting tables actually right behind us here at a place called the Granite Tap House. And they're no longer in business, but I was waiting tables there, called Bart, and I was like, I think I want a guide. And so it seemed like a fun community to hang out, and this is where I landed.
How long does it take to become a guide?
So it depends. It really depends on your motivation to become a guide. So whenever we first started, whenever I first started, there were about 15 or 20 senior guides ahead of me. So I started off, washing vans, doing dishes, cleaning boats, washing the vehicles, or waxing the bus that we have start running lunch boats, trashing my friends out on the river, kind of how we saw Adam today, do that fun thing. And then by the end of the summer, I was able to take commercial guests down. So, but it took a lot of motivation, just being out there every day rafting. So.
And had you ever been whitewater rafting before you
I
decided?
have. Yeah, I had, but never what I do now. Let's just say that. So it was always like family fun trips. Like being from Texas, we'd go into Colorado, Canyon City, Buena Vista, and raft on the Arkansas. I got a little bit of rafting while I was in Durango, and then once I moved here, like that's where I really got my start, and got in the guiding career. So.
What's the rafting season?
So we start in April and we go all the way through, September. It really starts to kind of die down. Everybody's going back to school. The fall weather is, starting to get cooler a little bit. So April through September is when we raft here.
April. The water's cold.
And it's really cold.
The water's cold. The river's a little bit higher than what we saw today. But it's nonetheless, it's all fun.
It is currently 106 degrees outside, so I can't even imagine. And the water was freezing today, so I can't imagine what it's like in April. You'd have to wear a bodysuit.
So is it more challenging to raft when the water's higher or lower?
I would say it's more challenging whenever the water's lower.
Okay.
More rocks are exposed. But it's also, they each have their own challenges, so at higher water, sometimes holes that we could see can be a little bit bigger. We call them munchier, if you will. They can be a little bit more munchier, but at lower water, the falls are much steeper. More rocks are exposed as well, so there's more opportunity for carnage at lower water. But at higher water levels, if you happen to go in involuntarily, it makes for a much more or a longer swim, if you will.
What's the river at today?
We're at about 1,900 cubic feet per second.
So is that high, low, medium?
That's pretty good for it's about medium level for this time of year.
Okay.
So
what's your, I'm putting you on the spot a little bit here.
No
I might have
worries.
to rack your brain, but what's a really crazy story that you've experienced as a guide?
As a guide, oh goodness, that is on
How
the
many
spot.
professional IVs have you had?
Depends on the night that I had.
IV stands for involuntary.
Oh yeah, involuntary, and voluntary.
So that's a good question. I lost count after, let's just say 20.
We didn't have one of those today, thank goodness.
Yeah. So explain the IV versus the V.
So the V stands for voluntary. That means you ask your guide if you guys can jump in the water. More than likely, the answer is always yes, just depending on where we are in the river. Of course, the river's always changing depths, so it's always important to enter into the river feet first. No diving. The involuntary part, you don't always get that option. So that's why you always wear helmets going through our bigger rapids. And involuntarily means that you just weren't grabbing on correctly, and out you go. So you're having your one-on-one time with Mother Nature.
So I feel like you've got to have some people who come out and they've never, they don't have a lot of river experience.
Sure.
So how do you teach them, or how do you get them to the point where it's going to be a successful day?
Just kind of how we did today. We take people from all walks of life, and we take them down the river. This is what we do professionally, for 7 months, 6-7 months out of the year. And so, we take people from all aspects, and we go down the river. We teach them how to paddle. We teach them how to grab on. Whether or not they want to grab on, that's totally up to them. And so those are the people that you usually have your involuntary swims.
Derek, did you get to grab on a couple times today?
Oh, I did. Trust me on that.
Have you ever had anybody with Down syndrome?
I haven't. No, this is my first time today.
Well, I am very happy for you.
Me too, man. I'm happy for you. You made my day. It was spectacular.
Well, you made my day. All that awesome waves of drafting.
Oh, the drafting, that was fun, wasn't it?
Sounds like I was raining money.
Oh my
Like,
goodness.
it is money to bake season right now. It feels like it.
I knew he'd bring wrestling into it somehow.
Yeah, always. He can't help himself.
So I have a question. How much did we really help you with the navigation of that raft? You know what I mean? Like
Correct.
how much, because Adam, which was, I guess, the assistant today, if you will, the lunch guy, right? Thank you, Adam. Great
Delicious
lunch, by the
cookies.
way. Oh my gosh, great lunch on the river. It was amazing. But like, how much did we really help you?
So during those big rapids, tremendous amount of help. You know, you'd be surprised. You know, just the I can't think right now.
Momentum.
The
Momentum.
momentum. Thank you. The momentum. You know, to punch through the big lateral wave at the top of Nugget. You know, because if we don't have any momentum going into that, we'll go extremely far right, and then that's whenever there's a big rock shelf over there on the right side, and I've seen people and boats just hit that rock shelf and domino effect out of the front of the boat there. And so having you guys is a tremendous amount of help. And then the next rapid, Powerhouse today, or Tillamook Falls is the native name for this rapid, but we call it Powerhouse just due to the hydroelectric plant that was there. Just having that all back paddle, you know, to get our boat to slow way down is a huge help. Without that, like we would go up on the right or the left side of that waterfall that you saw coming in and into the willow trees and then kind of tumble this way. So it really helps out. It's a big help.
I can imagine too, though, like Adam was riding solo and he was in a smaller raft. So I think probably the weight and the large, just being in a larger raft requires more of that help, probably. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Adam had our lunch today. Thanks, Adam. You know, that's the beginning of his rafting career. You know, is you get the lunch boat. You know, before you're quote unquote trusted with
Humans.
live people. So,
I know you said we weren't going to go into our
No, it's
experience so quickly, but I told you I had a question for you, but I just wasn't going to choose to ask it.
Right before the biggest rapid of the day, which is toward the end of our journey, you said, I've got a question, but I'm afraid to ask it now.
I'm just going to keep it to myself because I was nervous. I mean, I was nervous. I was nervous the whole day, and I think it was amazing, and I'm so glad we did it, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. It was amazing, and you were an incredible guide, but have you ever had any serious injuries come out of your boat?
not out of my personal boat, but I have been down there, you know, where injuries do occur.
Yeah.
What
You
kind
know.
of injuries?
You know, it could be, you know, somebody not holding on to their paddle and swinging it around. I've seen a broken nose, you know, a guest hitting another guest with the paddle, a broken nose. Watched the lady fall out and hit her arm, you know, and had a big hematoma, you know, on her arm. It's a very deep swim, you know, so a lot of people are real frazzled once they go down to the depths of the Rogue River right there, which can be anywhere from about 8 to 12 feet, depending on how much water, and you know, the mass of a human also makes a little bit of a difference. You guys saw how much aeration is in the water right there, so tons of oxygen. So what happens is you go off of that second drop and just kind of go down to the bottom of the river, and eventually the river will free you and spit you back out, you know, about 20 yards or so. So it makes for an interesting ride, you know, but it is very dark down there. I've personally done it a few times, you know, not by choice, but it's an interesting ride. But there are injuries that do occur, you know,
Yeah.
but it's few and far between. You know, I've been doing this for 10 years and I've only seen a few injuries right there at that rapid. So.
Yeah, well, I'm thankful that we didn't see any of them today, but then that's what was in my mind, and I thought the last thing I need to hear is, oh yeah, last week we lost a person. I was like, I don't think I need to know that right now. So
Let me tell you a rafting story from a friend of mine. He was up, I think they were in Grizzly Country.
Okay.
And so I think they were around the Jackson area.
Okay.
And they got on a rafting trip, and there was, I don't think it did occur. It occurred in his boat. There were some other people that they didn't know that was in there, and one of the guys was carrying bear spray.
Huh.
Anyway, they went down one of those rapids, and it deployed during that,
Oh no.
and sprayed another patron, another guest. They didn't know each other, got him really bad. This was Andrew.
Oh, it was Dave Downs.
Yeah, Mormon. And anyway, yeah, the bear spray deployed, and the guide was new. He didn't. I mean, he did a good job. Andrew said, but you haven't had that problem.
No bear spray.
No bear spray.
No, I typically don't take bear spray out with me unless I'm going somewhere extremely remote.
I would say that you might want to put that on your do not bring on the trip
You're not
list.
bringing on the trip.
No bear spray.
Leave it in the van.
Leave it in the van.
Yeah.
So we were on the Rogue River, and it sounds like that river has changed a lot since you have been have you always navigated the Rogue River with Noah's?
I have. Yeah.
Okay,
So I started
but
with Noah's.
You were telling us about the dams and stuff.
Correct.
Tell us more about that.
So we do a stretch that we put in 5 miles up from where we put in today, from Tuville State Park down to Fisher's Ferry. There used to be a dam right there called Gold Ray Dam. I think they breached that dam 16 or 18 years ago, something like that. And that whole area before the dam was a big slough, big reservoir, if you will. So it created a class 2 rapid up above where we put in. And then down below, it kind of shifted the riverbed a little bit, but not too much. You know, we rafted by 2 old dam sites today, a diversion dam for irrigation. I guess they both were for irrigation. And then the lower dam towards Powerhouse. So the river channel shifted a little bit, but not too much. You know, we do have high water marks every winter. Like this winter, the road got up to about 12,000 cubic feet per second where we were today. And so we did see a lot of, strainers. We call them strainers, big trees that are in the river. So we call them strainers. So just like your house, your pasta strainer at your house, but you are the pasta. So if that makes sense. So you definitely don't want to swim in. Anytime you see a tree in the water, you want to always avoid the tree.
So what's like the motivation behind changing the river like that, behind taking away dams and stuff? Why do they do that?
I think it allows, fish to be able to swim freely, to restore rivers back to, somewhat of their native waterways.
I was just going to say, we call those root wads where we come from.
Yeah.
That's what we call them.
So the dam was taken out upriver, but you said we actually went over pieces of, like, concrete pieces of
Correct.
the bridge.
Correct. Yeah, so we went over a bridge that was taken downstream by a high water year, and the removal of that dam at a rapid called Zigzag. So as soon as you go over this class 2 rapid, if you look down in the river, you can see the old metal bridge right there.
So how long, I mean, you might not know the answer to this, but like how long does it take for those big, huge pieces to get that far downriver?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine they move slowly down there. They were huge. I mean, I thought they were concrete, but there's metal pieces too?
There's metal pieces in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like a guardrail.
Yeah.
It seemed like there was guardrail pieces that I could see.
Before we even got here, Mom was talking about the parts of the river where it gets really, like the rapids and stuff, that she would potentially think about getting out and walking, which I knew she was never going to do that. But today, when she told you that she might do that, what did you tell her?
I'll let you share.
Oh, it was the rattlesnakes for me. So is that true? Because I don't think rattlesnakes are this far north.
They are.
They really are?
Yeah, we do have rattlesnakes up here, but I have to be honest now. I've only seen one rattlesnake right there out of my 10 years.
One's enough to scare her.
I don't do snakes.
We've been going to the river I'm 30, and they've been going since he's been going since he was a child. They've been going since before I was around, and they've seen one rattlesnake, and...
No, we've seen more than one rattlesnake.
Okay, I've seen one
We've
rattlesnake.
seen about three-ish rattlesnakes.
There's actually
in 40 years on the river.
We name our holes, too, of the river, and there's one that's the rattlesnake hole, and we don't stop there. We actually did stop there last time we were there, and she looked at us like, you guys are stopping at the rattlesnake hole?
Yeah.
We were like, well, we really had to pee, so we had to stop at the next hole.
Yeah, we encountered one copperhead at that hole, one rattlesnake, and one cottonmouth. All in that same 100-yard stretch of water.
Oh, wow.
Tell them the rattlesnake story. I don't think it's ever been shared on the podcast, so this is the perfect time to share it.
The rattlesnake story?
Do you want me to start it?
Why don't you just tell it?
I think I embellish it, but I'm going to do it
That's
anyways.
okay. You tell it. It'll be better
Okay,
anyway.
this is what happened. We're all out on the river. I think I was in high school.
Maybe.
She was 3 or 4.
So, okay, maybe I was in like 8th grade. But we're all out on the river. We had 2 boats because his cousin and wife was there with us. And we had the canoe that I was...
3 boats. Robin.
Oh, okay. Well, 3 boats.
Mimi
and
and
a canoe.
Papa were there.
Mimi and Papa were there, that's right. Okay, so then it was a really long time ago because Papa died while I was in high school, in my first year. So then it was definitely had to have been middle school. Anyways, we're all out on the river. We're crossing this big bluff. We were telling you earlier, the river we go to, it's not like, there's a lot of flat areas on the river we were at today. The river we go to, there's some like gravel bars and things like that, but you pass a lot of huge bluffs and like mountain rocky bluffs. And I didn't know this until that day, but apparently rattlesnakes don't like water. So there was a rattlesnake who was probably sunbathing on the other side of the river from where we were. We were on the gravel bar.
On the
And
bluff. On the rocks.
the rattlesnake was on the rocky side. We were on the gravel bar. And this boat goes by, and they start pointing in the water, and they're screaming. And we didn't really know why, but we obviously were cued off to the fact that something was happening. And Derek's in the water, Katie's in the water, and our cousin Megan were in the water. All 3 of them were in the water. And my Aunt Dana was in the water. And I think your cousin Pam was the one who saw it first.
Pam saw it and she yelled snake. We didn't know it was a rattlesnake initially.
Yeah, but it was going like this because it doesn't like the water. So its head was like easily 6 inches above the water.
Land snakes typically stay on top of the water, from my experience. And a rattlesnake's a land snake. It's not, if it's what the whole body's on top of the water, you can almost guarantee it's a land snake. So anyway, she yells snake, and Katie saw it, and she started moving.
Well, Dana yelled at Katie and Megan and told them to, she's like, girls, run! And she grabs the back of, because she knows, okay, Derek's, we love him, but he can be a little slow. And she knew the girls would run faster. So she tells the girls to run, and she grabs the back of Derek's life jacket and starts dragging him. And he is, like, floundering.
She's trying to drown him.
Yeah. She's, like, upside down waterboarding him.
Luckily, he was a little smaller back then.
Yeah. So she's dragging him. His face is going in and out of the water. He's so confused. He's like, what are you doing to me? Katie gets to the edge of the boats. His cousin reaches in and plucks her out of the water. Megan gets out of the water on her own. He's carving a watermelon. And
I had a fillet knife about that long in my hand.
Yeah, he's got like a 6-inch knife in his hand, and he's like, well, I guess it's my job to go toward the snake. So he starts heading to the snake. I don't know whose idea it was to grab the paddle, but she's the one that yelled at me. What are you gonna say?
Actually, before that snake could go up to me, before Dana
Dragged
me, I just want to point out, I'm the one who's responsible for killing the snake.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, right.
I've told this story a lot. I've never told it like that.
I was there. I knew the snake is coming for me. There's a big rock right next to me. I picked that up when the snake get closer, and we're like, BAM! Die, snake! Stop!
Well, Jenna said she might embellish the story a little bit, but that's the biggest embellishment I've ever heard.
Yeah, I've told this story a lot. I've definitely never included that part. But if that's how you remember the story, you go ahead and remember it.
I remember it.
It was real close to that, but let Jenna finish.
Okay, now my version of the story ends like this. So Mom screams at me. She's like, Jenna, paddle! And I'm standing next to the canoe. We use wooden paddles in our canoe. I pick up the wooden paddle, and is the best throw I've ever made. Javelin toss this paddle to Mom. She tosses it to Dad. He catches it midair behind him and comes straight down on that snake. Cut its head off.
I did. I come down with the flat part of the
That is
paddle.
way before.
Right behind us and cut it just like that.
That
I'm
is-
like, holy cow.
That
You
is
gotta hold this close.
Holy cow.
That is way before I
think you did.
slammed
Totally.
the head of the snake
I believe you. Yeah.
with the rock. Big
But
rock.
I had jumped out there between my sister that was waterboarding him and the snake and started splashing at it to get it to stop. And it stopped and coiled up right there for a little bit. And then it started coming right towards us because it was,
There was nowhere else for you.
Unfortunately for the snake, it fell in a bad part of the river. He should have not fell in there and came to us. If he'd went someplace else, he'd still be alive. But he didn't, and he was coming at us, and we were definitely threatened since a lot of us are afraid of snakes anyway.
So was this at Rattlesnake Hole?
It was that's when it became rattlesnake.
Yeah.
That's what coined the name. And so, like we said, he was cutting up a watermelon. Well, when you cut the head off of a rattlesnake, it still rattles.
Oh yeah.
So I believe you cut the rattler off with the watermelon knife.
I probably did.
And then
I don't remember
washed
for
it
sure.
off in the ocean, in the river, and proceeded to cut our watermelon that we ate with it.
Well, it was just went through some fresh meat.
Yuck.
It's like sushi, man. Couldn't be any
You-
fresher.
100% cut the rattle off.
Well, I would definitely do that.
You did. You and
I
Sam
don't know
were
what I did with it.
very excited about it. I'm pretty sure you talked about eating the snake.
I'm pretty sure Sam kept the head and the rattler.
Sam probably kept it. That's probably true.
And it's been Rattlesnake Hole ever since.
It's a good name. I like it.
And
Yeah, that's what we've got timber rattlers back there. That's what
And-
they are.
So what do the locals call it?
Thanks for
Spring Hollow.
I've never heard it called that.
Derek's trying to talk.
thanks for that day. What happened that year? Also, the other rattlesnake coming for revenge, and the other time we went to the river. This time was after my cousin Jack.
I wasn't there for that rattlesnake story.
Josh and Jack.
Josh and Jack had a similar experience at Log Yard.
Oh, don't tell me that. We go there too much. So, back to our experience today. What I'd really like to know is that's the most we've ever done whitewater rafting. Like, we go to the river a lot. We don't. There's no rapids like that. So, how intense is that really in comparison? Like, is a 4 actually the highest it goes, or is that just the highest it goes on this river?
It's the highest it goes on this stretch of river.
Okay.
So commercially or anywhere around the world, it's class 1 through 5.
Okay. So 4 is pretty intense.
4 is pretty intense. So in the way that they classify rivers, it could be the gradient. So from top to bottom, how much are you descending? The moves that you have to make to get to where you're going safely, and also the consequence of the swim plays a big part in classifications of rivers.
What does that mean?
So if you happen to fall out involuntarily, what's the swim going to feel like? What's that going to be like?
And so at that spot where that 4 rapid is, it's going to be pretty terrible.
Depending on who you ask.
Okay. Have you swam it before?
I've swam both of them before.
Intentionally?
The first one intentionally, the second one not intentionally.
So what made you decide to swim the first rapid intentionally?
It was more so, I think it was a dare, about that at that time. I was just fresh into the business, and they're like, I dare you to swim this rapid. And I was like, all right, I got to earn some stripes somehow, so just jumped in and swam.
What's like a misconception about, like, that people think about the river, or that if you've never been on a river like this, like, what would you tell somebody?
What do you mean?
Kind of like, if somebody is scared to go, or if they might think it's one way and you think it's actually, like, for example, one thing that I wasn't really sure what to expect today was, we really only had those like 2 or 3 spots where it was like, okay, that was intense. Whereas like when I thought about it ahead of time, I was a little afraid that it was going to be like back to back to back to back, just like chaos.
Right.
So like what, if somebody's never been, like what would you tell them about how this experience is?
Just kind of easing into it, introducing, this is where we're starting, this is where we're taking off, those first 5 miles. Or expect this, we're going to start off really kind of slow, and then we gradually get into our bigger whitewater after the 5 miles. That way everybody gets comfortable with where you're at and your surroundings and how to paddle. And usually whenever the first Class 4 comes, like everybody's in tune and everybody's ready.
They're excited.
They're
for
excited.
That big first one.
They're ready. And usually by the end of the trip, people want more.
Yeah.
They want more rapids, and we get people coming back. So year after year after year.
I got something to say. You can't take it. Okay, now Brad, you got to be honest.
All right.
On a scale of 1 to 10, the Baker family's ability to paddle, 1 being the worst family you've ever had, and 10 being the best. You have to be honest. What would you give the Baker family on their paddling today?
Give the Baker family, give me a drum roll,
Come on.
please.
Oh no, we're moving the cameras.
Oops.
Baker family 10.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So I was impressed with.
Hang on.
you-
Before you continue, how was my holding? Scale of 1 to 10.
How was
Holding
what?
on.
Is holding.
Oh, your grab on? A 10, all the way.
Yeah.
I was impressed with your training as we went down on the gentle stretches. You did a really nice job preparing us for the stretch that was a little hairy. And so I felt a lot better knowing what we were to be doing. Because this was my, I mean, I've been around the river a lot, but never this type of rapids, never on a raft of that sort. And had some apprehension, but not a lot. But, I when you go into something like this, you got to trust that your guide is going to do all the things that they can do in their power to keep you safe. And I feel like you did everything I think
thank
you
you.
did a very nice job with it.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
No, you did.
I agree.
So I have a question. So we had 2 4s today. Have you ever floated a Class 5 before?
I have.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you tell us about that experience?
And where?
So normally, like in the springtime, we offer trips in Northern California on the Smith River, the Scott River, and the California Salmon River. Cal Salmon does have a Class 4 stretch, which is really fun, called the Butler section. And then the Class 5 stretch on the Cal Salmon is the Nordheimer stretch. Really fun stretch, but it's very intense. It's a step up, a very large step up from where we were today on Class 4s. So generally speaking, like going from Class 1 to 2, is, if you think of a staircase, we'll put it this way, we go up 1 step. 2 to 3, a few more steps. 3 to 4, you're going up a flight of steps. Class 5, it's up there, and you really want to be with a trained guide and know exactly where you're at and what to do in all scenarios,
So if somebody's rafting for the first time ever, do they
Yeah, they get to
on
go.
a Class 5?
They get to go as long as they can pass the swim test.
Okay, so you do have to have a swim test
A swim
if there's
test.
a
And
Class
so
5.
usually, generally speaking, we'll make people, and I think some other companies too, that the swim test is first on the list, and it's not going to your local YMCA and jumping into a nice heated pool. You go to the river, and mind you, these Class 5 rivers run, March, April, May, so it's cold outside. You wear wetsuits and splash gear, but we'll make you swim across moving currents to the other side and back. So before
I don't know if I can pass that.
you got it.
And she was a lifeguard.
Yeah. And we've been going to the river our whole life. I'm sure we could pass it. It would
You
just
got
be a
it.
little bit more scary than today.
No life jacket for these swim tests?
Life jacket always.
Okay, I could pass it with a life jacket on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you'd have to have a life jacket. Okay, so let's talk about our experience. I just have to say, Derek, we do have a lot of people who have Down syndrome or, related to the disability community, that sort of thing, that listen to our podcast. I think it's pretty cool that we're talking to you,
Yeah.
and Derek being the first person with Down syndrome you've ever rafted with. I just have to say, growing up, this is the kind of thing that we would have loved to have tried in other places that we've been, and we just were never really comfortable doing it. We didn't necessarily think it was something that Derek would be able to do. And the fact that we are here and we did it and we had success, and not only did we have success, you had a freaking blast.
Duh.
I just want to tell you, I'm really proud of you. I think you did awesome. I think you were a good listener. I do think it was a good thing that we did start off the day with Derek and Dad on one side and me and Katie and Mom on the other side, because we were trying to keep the weight balanced. However, we needed the paddling to also be balanced. So once we got up to the higher rapids, we decided that Derek and I would switch so that we had 2 strong paddlers on each side. And what did you get to do?
Hold.
And Derek got to hold on. Lucky you. The rest of us paddled for you, right?
Right.
Passenger princess.
Yeah, he was a passenger princess.
Wrong.
Okay, sorry.
Wrong.
Sorry. But Prince, you're right. So tell me, Derek, what were you expecting coming into this, and how do you feel now?
Honestly, I've never done this before. And I am glad I did. This is one of my bucket lists in 2024. That bucket list right there has been shaked off. It was amazing. It was incredible. It was, like I said before, it was phenomenal, colossal, stupendous, colossal, humongous, mind-blowing, stupendous.
You got any extra superlative you'd like to add?
Stupendous. That's all that mattered was stupendous,
Colossal.
colossal, phenomenal, mind-blowing.
Amazing.
Not the words from Mr. Pat McAfee.
In the words of Pat McAfee, colossal, stupendous, mind-blowing.
Thank you for that, for Mr. Pat. Shout out to you, by the way. But this is Wallet Up, and this is biggest WrestleMania moment I got so far. So thank you for that, Brad.
You're welcome, man. That was awesome.
So, Mom, I know this is something that,
Mind blown.
if you could tell
Stupendous.
another mom of somebody with Down syndrome or a disability that was maybe afraid to try something like this, like what would you kind of say to that? Obviously, it depends on their age. I think Derek 10 years ago, 15 years ago, obviously, I mean, like I said, we would have never done this. But now that he's older, he does a good job following instructions. He gets it. He has experience in the river too. Like, I mean, he was actually on a kayak alone in Lake Tahoe on Tuesday.
Nice.
And 4 years ago, we were originally planning to come to California in 2020, and we can't. That was like one of the first things that we canceled when COVID hit. Had we come then, Derek would have been.
Had to pay right there.
We wouldn't have come here because our plans were different.
Right, our plans were different, and had we gone kayaking, Derek would have been in a 2-person kayak. So he has
Right.
definitely learned a lot over the last 4 years when it comes to being alone in a kayak on the river. But if you were to say about this experience specifically to another family, what would you say?
Well, I called and spoke to a gentleman, and I don't remember his name.
Bart,
Maybe Bart, the owner. Maybe.
he's the owner.
And just had an open, honest conversation, right? I got a 27-year-old with Down syndrome, and I just want to make sure that it's going to be safe for him, and we talked a little bit about it, and he said, will he follow instructions? If he's told to hold on, will he hold on? I said, oh, he'll hold on. I'm not worried about him holding on, right? And I think that, just like Eric said,
Calm down.
Okay, Jonas Brothers.
just like Eric said, I mean, your instructions were so clear, and I just felt very well cared for by you, taking care of the family today, and he understood, he understood the assignment, right? And I think it was smart that we took the paddle away and said, you know what, your job is to hold on. And he did a great job.
Oh, no.
And
During the hard parts.
Yeah, during the hard parts.
He paddled
hard
early,
parts.
but
Yeah.
once we got to the back half of the trip, we knew that we were struggling a little bit earlier in the day when it came to paddling in sync, which
Yes.
was Brad was
Important.
emphasizing that it was very important that we paddled in sync, and we were not getting that right, and we did not want to mess it up when it was really important.
Yeah.
So that's when we switched.
I just
and we
think
let Derek
that,
hold on.
we don't know the capabilities of our kids until we give them an opportunity. And I think he did an incredible job today. And I'm super proud and I'm glad we did this, and I would highly recommend it to anybody.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Did you know that you were getting a young man with Down syndrome today?
I did.
You did.
I
so,
did. Yeah, I was aware.
So you were aware. So they prepped you for it. And,
Mhm.
I mean, I thought that's what happened. You'd asked, give us a guide that's capable of dealing with Derek. Yeah. So you were prepared, and then we did ask. To give us somebody that was prepared, and they did. They accommodated us. They did a great job picking the guide, in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, if we
Awesome.
would have
Thank
been
you.
working with somebody who's like on their first year, that might not have been the best fit.
Right. So, take that away from me.
Okay, let's talk about lunch really quick, because I was.
And
so
then we
impressed.
probably need to let this poor
I know,
man
we
go.
gotta
No,
wrap
no,
it
you're
up.
good,
I
you're
want to
good.
make sure if
I-
we have any other questions or anything you want to add.
Yeah,
too.
so just about our trip and any parents that have children with Down syndrome and are worried about Class 4 rapids, we do also offer much more mellower trips on the Rogue River. So we've got other sections of the river that we row that are Class 1 and 2. you
Okay.
know. So just kind of throwing that out there. So we do everything, all the way from Class 1 to 5.
Yeah, and maybe
So-
for another family who has
Sure.
a child with a disability that
Absolutely.
doesn't have the river experience and the
Mhm.
water
Or is
experience
younger or
that
whatever.
Derek
Absolutely.
has, that would have been
Yeah.
a good fit. But yeah, lunch. If we're going to talk about lunch, I'm thinking that's the best lunch I've ever had on the river in my life, and
We
for
do
two
it-
reasons: A, it was incredible. B, I didn't have to do it.
See, I actually got a chair this time. Usually us kids have to sit on our life vests on the gravel bar.
Yes, this is true. I was fully expecting to sit on my life vest because that's what I've done my whole life. But so we actually had 3 boats today. We had our boat with the 5 of us. We had another boat who had a couple other families and a smorgasbord of people, but guests. And then the third boat was Adam, who he's in training.
In training.
And he had all the lunch gear. So Adam started, and I was looking around the boat, kind of, because Mom said like we're gonna have lunch on the water. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, how do they know what we're gonna eat? Like, I was very skeptical of what that was gonna be like. And I'm looking around. I'm
Spam
like,
sandwiches.
yeah, I'm like, where's the food? Like, there's not a cooler on this boat. And then I realized that we at one point had a third boat. And I'm like, that guy must have all the stuff. And so then we found out that he was actually sent out to scope out a shady spot. And we get there, he's got a snack table, a lunch table, all the chairs set up. It was amazing. Have you guys always done it that way?
We've always done it that way.
That's brilliant.
It's nice. It's a good treat,
What do you think about lunch, Dee?
You know what? Lunch is amazing. Like, the sandwiches was amazing. Especially all vegetables and the fruit.
And you got 2 cookies.
It was incredible. I gotta admit.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else from today? I know when we went down the.
Actually,
Okay.
I did meet these 2 boys, and these 2 boys
Oh yeah, let's give a shout out to the other families we were with today.
are biggest John Cena fans.
Okay, well, Derek tried really hard to talk wrestling with the little boys on our trip. There was Ian and Tanner.
Shout out to Ian and Tanner.
And Ian was there with his parents, and Tanner was there with his dad. And then there was Julie.
Julie.
And
I thought she was a rock star going by herself.
Yeah.
I love that. She's like,
Well,
I wanted to do
Julie-
it. I'm going to do it.
Judy is wonderful, awesome mother, and I am glad at having 2 lovely kids like Ian and Tanner.
And Tanner did say he was a John Cena fan. And of course,
And
Derek proceeded
Tanner
to ask
and
him.
Ian are both John Cena fans. I just want to say that is very awesome. I just want to say shout out to Tanner and Mr. Ian. Having the experience of being a John Cena fan is really cool. Like, I'm the biggest John Cena fan. Like, come on. I close down every single match. My favorite match so far is John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania 29 in 2015.
And he told Tanner all about it.
I told Tanner all about that match.
Okay, you don't have to tell the podcast too.
And let's not forget, in 2014, Randy Orton taking on John Cena for the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble, beginning of WrestleMania 30. That's how it starts. John Cena is a man.
Okay,
so
okay.
I agree.
Reel it in. Reel it in.
Thank you so much for that. Shout out to Tanner and biggest John Cena fans. I love it.
When we did the big rapids, and you got splashed, and you were in the front of the boat too, you got extra splash and extra water.
Trust me, no one can get this guy wet.
That's totally what you look like.
What about that eddy surfing? You kind of liked that too, didn't you?
Oh, the surfing. That was cool.
Well, I was kind of bugger. Shout out to Team Beast, maybe.
Okay, tell us how the surfing works.
So it's a wave coming down and then it's recirculating back on itself. So as a boat, you're coming through, you're catching the eddy. So an eddy is whenever water is moving around an object, such as a rock or an island, circulating back upriver to fill the space. So eddies, we go into those eddies, and then so you're looking back upriver at this rapid coming down at you, and then you cross over into the recirculating wave. If you catch it just right, with the right speed and enough weight up front, the boat will surf into that wave, kind of like you're surfing out on the ocean, just kind of riding that wave.
And it was very cool, and we did it twice.
And we were able to stay there just stationary
It was incredible.
with the water flowing into the front of the boat, and you had some effort going back there to keep it.
I had some effort going
Yeah.
back there.
Yeah.
So I noticed when we did the last one, which I don't know that you did this intentionally, but I'm glad we did it this way, that we actually went first, because then I was able to turn around with the GoPro and get Adam and then get the last boat coming. And so had we done that opposite, I wouldn't have gotten the rest of them coming over that last rapid. But I was expecting once we got over that last rapid that we would need to get the hell out of the way. And we kind of stayed there.
Uh-huh.
What's the purpose of us kind of like staying there? Is it to catch somebody in case they fall in?
In case they fall in.
Yeah, I thought so.
We had none of that today. Thank you very much.
Yes, there was no involuntary entrances to the water.
Yeah, I didn't put two and two together and realize that's why we were there.
You didn't do that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, come on,
No.
you're the river expert.
Yeah, I didn't put two and two together.
Oh,
I thought we were just watching them.
I thought we were going to get the hell out of the way, and then when we didn't, I was like, we're the safety net.
Exactly.
We're here to pluck people out.
It was actually kind of cool too how you showed us how to pull people back into the boat. We luckily didn't actually have to do that, but I feel like it would have been, especially if it was one of those little kids, it would have been relatively easy, isn't it, to kind of get them back in?
It is, most definitely. And sometimes like the smallest person can pick the largest person out of the river just by that technique. I've seen it done before, and it's quite incredible.
The one thing too that I was not expecting was you told us not to put sunscreen on the backs of our legs.
Yes.
So explain that. I mean,
So-
I get it, but explain it.
So the sunscreen tends to act like a lubricant next to it's like a PVC composite rubber material that the boat is made of. And so once you add that lubricant to the backs of your legs and it gets wet, it just turns into a real big slip and slide. So, and as for jokes, I like to say, if you're getting sunburned back there, we have a much more serious issue to worry about than a sunburn.
Yes.
So,
All right, so we need to wrap this up. Do you have anything else you want to share today?
Actually, there's one thing I do want to talk about. This man, Brad, is actually professional wrestler. So tell me about that.
Maybe more like probably amateur.
amateur.
Not amateur.
Oh, okay.
I gotta know why you're getting into wrestling, because I'm the big wrestling fan in this group. We all know it. The big wrestling fan like some WWE, Impact Wrestling, or AEW, something like that. How are you experienced that to become a professional wrestler? And not just that, what company you want to be in?
Oh boy.
Oh goodness.
He's trying to get your career change here.
Yeah, right. Do you remember the NWO?
I remember
What about the WWF?
NWO.
Oh, he knows about the WWF for sure.
Yeah. So my biggest wrestling, I like Sting. That was my guy I always followed was Sting.
Sting.
Mm-hmm.
Just to give a little context here, Adam was a state champion. Adam was
Brad.
Adam was our other guy. I'm so sorry, Brad. Brad was a state wrestling champion in high school.
Middle school.
Middle school. But
Almost high school.
The guy in high school gave you hell.
He did. He fought in the UFC.
So it was a little bit of a jump across the Rogue River to get to a professional wrestler, but nonetheless.
He wrestled his whole life growing up. Just like Katie played softball her whole life growing up, but she is
But that doesn't make me an Olympian by any means.
or a professional.
Yeah, but we need to let this poor man go. We need to tell him thank you.
Do you have anything else you want to share?
I just want to say thank you guys. Like, this is incredible. You know, thanks for coming out and spending a day with me. So if we say, like, without you guys, we'd have to grow up and get a real job. So, you know, thank you so much.
I love that. We had the best time, Brad. You were incredible. The Noah's is incredible. So easy to work with. So
Sorry we brought the heat wave.
Yeah.
It's almost 6:15 and it is currently 105 degrees still. Good thing we found this spot in the shade.
Jimmy is in the shade.
you so much.
Before we wrap up for the day, before let it go, I gotta know, why are you getting into wrestling?
Oh my god.
What is the story to that?
When did you start wrestling?
So I started wrestling when I was 3 years old, and then I stopped wrestling probably about my senior year in high school.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I gotta know what comedy, like Impact.
when are you gonna make your comeback? That's what he wants to know.
So I think my comeback, I'm shooting for maybe 5 years from now. We'll see.
All right,
We'll see.
Oh, David will.
hit us up if you're gonna be in a show. We'll come watch.
David, I do mind to see Brad on TV, like Impact or WWE, AEW. Let me know. Let me know what comedy you have.
Maybe he'll be on TV because he's like an Olympic rower or something.
I think
Probably.
he's more of like a Royal Rumble guy starting in 2026, 2027.
Sure, yeah, we'll see.
there
Yeah.
you go.
I
Royal
would
Rumble.
I would enter
Okay.
after 20 if I were you. Those guys who enter early, man, they gotta stay in there a long time.
Well, I can be number 30. You would be 20.
That's perfect. I actually did go to the Olympic Training Center, whitewater rafting. It's in North Carolina. It's completely man-made. What's it called? The Whitewater Center? That's it. The Whitewater Center. It was very cool. That was my first experience ever rafting. It wasn't on a real river.
Make it out there soon.
It's a very cool spot. We actually went there in December, and they had no water in it. But I went back with my fiance.
We have to let this poor man go.
Okay, I'm actually talking about something that he might actually care about here, okay?
Well, Ari
I'm
got
talking
my
about a-
Pete.
I'm talking about a place he says he might actually want to go
Let the
someday.
poor man go.
All right, it is very cool, so you'll have to check it out someday. But it's just a short little loop, like maybe I think it takes like 30 minutes total to go around the whole thing. But it's cool. It was neat. Okay, well I'm gonna end it then because I don't trust you because you'll go back to wrestling.
Bullshit. I'm gonna do
Oh
it.
my god. Okay. All right. Well, let me shout out Ashland, Oregon, Noah's River Adventure in Ashland.
You do have the
Oregon.
opportunity. Mom, go ahead.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe I'll get it right this time. Noah's River Adventure in Ashland, Oregon. Thank you so much for the most incredible day and for having a nice gentleman here, Brad, to be our guide. We are so thankful. And a professional wrestler.
Obviously.
It was amazing.
Okay,
So
Brad,
thank
did you have
you.
one more thing you wanted to say?
No, that was it. So if you guys find yourself in Ashland this summer, you know, stop by and look us up. Come rafting with us. So this is our 50th year this year.
Oh wow.
Wow.
50th anniversary.
Tell them the Baker family sent you.
Do you almost
almost
all reservation, or you have walk-ups? I mean,
Walk-ups also.
Walk-ups also.
So that information center, the Noah's Information Center downtown, that deals with all walk-ups.
so don't be afraid to walk up if you haven't
Exactly.
planned it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Say goodbye and peace, Derek.
All right, guys. It's been a wonderful time talking to Mr. Noah Ventures Water Professional Wrestler Brad. Brad, it's good to have you on this podcast. Space fun. We might do it all on Zoom till we get home.
Okay.
You wanna do that?
Sounds good.
Find us on social media at Baker Banter. We got Cameo, Baker Banter merch. I am going to have some new merch coming soon. I don't have it ready quite yet, but hopefully by next week I'll have this new merch that I haven't even showed Derek yet. It's pretty exciting.
I bet. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's WWE CEO.
Okay, we'll see about that. Find us on Cameo, Snapchat at Baker Banter. Is it Noah's River Adventures.com?
I think it's noahsrafting.com.
noahsrafting.com, but just search it, Noah's River Adventures, Ashland, Oregon.
Do you have like an Instagram handle to plug for the company?
I believe it's Noah's River Adventures is the Instagram handle and Facebook.
Noah's River Adventures, find them, look it up. You will not be disappointed. It was an amazing day. But if you come back, maybe it won't be 105 degrees. We did accidentally bring a heat wave to the Pacific Northwest with us.
Well,
we didn't mean to do that, but we did do that.
Well, that's okay because tomorrow night is actually heat wave, and it feels like heat wave right now.
Yeah, that's true. All right, well, that's all we have time for today. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Let's hear it for
we'll
Brett.
have a full recap of our entire Pacific Northwest vacation next week.
Peace. Peace.